The death of a child is one of the most devastating tragedies that any family can face. Each year, about a dozen children die in the U.S. as a result of a fall through an open window. Thousands more are injured each year, and many of those face long and difficult recoveries. Hi, I'm Mike Fisher, Director of Codes and Standards for the Kellen Company, speaking to you today about an exciting new innovation in child safety, the window opening control device. Today we will take a special look at the Angel Vent Lock, a new window opening control device that is manufactured by Mighton Products. There have been great strides made recently to reduce the number of children who are injured or who die as a result of a window fall. Safety awareness programs and window guard regulations in some cities have vastly improved safety, but much more can be done and more needs to be done. When I speak to parents about how their child fell through an open window, one of the most common themes I hear is that they just didn't know. How many children fall from windows each year? In 1993, the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission estimated that there were 18 fall deaths and 4,500 child fall injuries each year. As I said before, there has been some improvement. In 2000, the CPSC dropped its annual estimate down to 12 child fall deaths. And the National Center for Health Statistics reported an annual average reduction in child fall injuries in that same decade. In Boston and New York City, there were particular improvements, an 83% decrease in child fall hospitalizations between 1993 to 1995, and Boston reported no deaths during the same period. When New York City implemented its Children Can't Fly campaign, they saw a 50% decrease in falls after educational and window guard programs were enacted, and ultimately a 96% decrease in child fall hospitalizations. This graph shows the reduction in child fall deaths that occurred over the previous 2 decades, and shows that with a combination of awareness and the use of mechanical devices or architectural features, that child falls can be reduced. But as we said, much more needs to be done. A number of groups have been really working hard to reduce child falls. For example, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Harborview Injury Prevention and Research Center from the University of Washington, Children's Memorial Hospital in Chicago, the Oregon Health and Science University, the National Safety Council, and the U.S. CPSC have all worked hard to study data and look for ways to improve child safety. Industry has been involved as well, and those regulators who are responsible for the codes and standards that govern our products and our lives have also taken a leadership role, whether it's the International Code Council, ASTM International, state and municipal agencies and governments and state legislatures, and industry, window and hardware manufacturers in particular, window guard manufacturers, along with groups like the National Fire Prevention Association and fire service officials, have all taken a hard look at the role windows play in safety. Windows do a lot more than just let light into the home. While natural lighting and ventilation is an important part of windows and their role in architecture today, they provide other important performance features, including envelope protection. They provide resistance against hurricanes in those parts of the U.S. They provide water penetration resistance and impact resistance as well. An important feature of windows is energy performance to help save energy and keep our buildings more efficient. They also provide security, but more importantly, windows can play a very important role in emergency escape and rescue. Every sleeping room in the United States, under the residential codes, is required to have one emergency escape and rescue opening. And the codes require that those windows have a minimum size and location to the ground so that they're easily accessible in the case of an emergency, whether it's for the occupants to escape through those windows or for service providers who are emergency responders to enter into the structure if they need to. The most important part of these criteria is that the window must be operational from the inside, and it must be able to be done without the use of tools or keys or any type of special knowledge. Just as falls have decreased, so have residential fire deaths, not just for children, but for people of all ages. And just as the fire deaths are reduced because of the advent of awareness programs like Stop, Drop, and Roll, and the use of smoke detectors in all of our homes as part of our codes, so too can child window falls be reduced by a combination of devices like window opening control devices, along with important educational efforts. There are a lot of efforts underway by many stakeholders, including the National Safety Council, Window Safety Foundation. State of Minnesota has taken a leadership role, passing legislation such as Layla's Law. The ICC, the International Code Council, has a Code Technology Committee with a subcommittee on child window falls. And recently, the ASTM2090C Committee on Window Fall Prevention Devices has expanded their scope to include requirements for window opening control devices. Now, all of these stakeholders who study child falls look for factors to see what happens to cause a child to fall through a window. And the factors that are cited are that windows are open in areas where children are present, and that there is a general lack of proper supervision and understanding about the role windows play. Furniture placement is often cited as a key factor, whether it's a bed or a sofa or a dresser that's located underneath a window, especially in areas where children are likely to be playing or present. Another important factor to note is that insect screens are not intended to prevent child window falls. The most serious injuries from child window falls occur in the age from 3 to 5, and most of the child window falls occur in urban and low-income housing. So what are the recommendations from caregivers? The most important thing is to keep windows closed when young children are present, and to remember that insect screens will not prevent child falls. Another important advice is to keep furniture like beds and dressers and even toy chests away from windows. Now, if you do have to open your windows, the CPSC and other advocates recommend that you open the window to less than 4 inches. Or if you have a double hung window, you can open the upper sash as opposed to the lower sash. The Children's Memorial Hospital in Chicago, Illinois has taken a leadership role in providing awareness and educational information for parents and caregivers. They produced a brochure called Stop the Falls, in which they talk about the need to properly supervise children and to help prevent child window falls. If you look at the back of the brochure, you'll notice there's a ruler superimposed so that the user of the brochure can actually use that to decide how far to open their windows. The 4-inch number is somewhat of a magic number that relates back to openings and guardrails, and the CPSC has determined that openings and rails or openings and windows set less than 4 inches is a safe number. Therefore, the requirement for window opening control devices, which we'll talk about in a minute, is based on that 4-inch ruling. The ASTM2090C Subcommittee on Window Fall Prevention Devices has recently convened and updated the ASTM2090 standard to include window opening control devices. These devices are required by code to meet the standard. The standard requires that these devices must limit the initial opening of the window to less than 4 inches. That 4-inch dimension meets the requirements that the CPSC and other caregivers have stated as a safe dimension to keep children from falling through open windows. Another important feature is that the window opening control device must reset every time you close the window, so that if you leave the window and another caregiver returns and opens the window, they too will be restricted to that initial opening of less than 4 inches. However, in the case of an emergency, the window opening control device must be easily releasable to allow the window to open for either escape or rescue from a responder. And the window that's fitted with a window opening control device must also meet the rest of the code requirements for emergency escape and rescue. ASTM2090 also includes some testing requirements for the window opening control device. Those requirements include an initial test to provide a baseline robustness measure of 75 pounds. After that, the window opening control device is subjected to 4,000 cycle tests. After the completion of the cycle test, the window opening control device undergoes subsequent follow-up force testing to make certain that it's going to perform as intended. The standard also includes very detailed information on installation instructions and operational information for the window opening control device to make sure that both the installer and the user and caregiver knows how to operate these devices. Window opening control devices can help to educate parents and caregivers about the need to keep windows open less than 4 inches whenever children are present. Every time the window is closed, the device will automatically reset. Every time the window is opened, the window opening control device reminds the parent about safe use of windows. Window opening control devices provide a practical approach to reducing the chance of a child fall while allowing for emergency escape or rescue. As window opening control devices are used in more homes, fewer parents will have to agonize over an injury or a death to their child, and fewer parents will have to say, "I just didn't know."